Okay, welcome to Living Eternity Now. Today, I would like to do a scientific analysis of the powerful effect that concerts have on our lives, both positive and negative. And this is perhaps more important than you may think at first. And as you may know, I utilize the science of Dr. Norberto Keppe, the Austrian Brazilian psychoanalyst, scientist, because he has made a unification of the sciences with philosophy and with spirituality, which gives us a much more profound insight into the psychological and social life of the human being. The studies of the human psyche began with Sigmund Freud, who was an atheist. And even though in the beginning he made significant discoveries in relation to this study, his theories were completely off the wall. How can you understand the creation, in this case the human being, if you reject the creator? It's completely incongruent. And so Keppe's work is much more profound in this sense. And so have you ever had really good experiences with concerts? And what type of concert? For example, in my youth, in my teenage years, I really had the opportunity to see the great pianist Arthur Rubinstein a couple of times there in New York with profound effects on the human soul. And as I love the world of piano playing, I've also seen the great Van Cliburn in Pennsylvania, Garrick Olson at Wigmore Hall in London. I had the opportunity of seeing the famous three tenors, Pavarotti, Domingo, and Carreras. That was at the Morumbi football stadium in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I had the opportunity to see Baryshnikov dance at the Met in New York, as well as Rudolf Nureyev also. And of course, many operas, operettas, orchestral works, chamber music. I had a life-changing experience with Giuseppe Verdi's Requiem there at the Royal Albert Hall in London. That just changed my philosophy of life. The arts, they link us with eternal values. The arts, they greatly facilitate our link between this life here in time and space and the fact that we are eternal beings. It links us with the metaphysical world, the world of eternal values. Because all of us, we are eternal beings, and the arts make this link for us. Now, what I would like to analyze today is what happens with these heavy metal, heavy rock concerts where violence breaks out to the point where people are even killed during these concerts. It's such an opposite effect of the type of concerts that many of us are accustomed to experiencing. And so you'd be very hard pressed to find incidences of death and violence at classical musical concerts or quality concerts of whatever type of genre you like. But at these heavy rock concerts, there's a type of predominant rhythmic beats, perhaps with vulgar language, passing through electricity at very high volumes. When sound passes through electricity, it's completely modified. We can talk about that one day, what happens exactly. And with everybody jumping up and down to a heavy pulsing beat with electrically charged energy, what happens is many times there are stampedes and people get killed more frequently than we like to acknowledge. So I would like to give us a few examples. I'm just going to refer here to my book, Third Millennium Renaissance, just to give us an idea, beginning with in the beginning of rock concerts, when it was all the rage, right up until today. And these violent effects, it doesn't matter what country it is or what culture, what time period, what there is in common is the fact that they are rock concerts, heavy rock concerts. For example, the Rolling Stones in 1969 They did a concert called Sympathy for the Devil. And there were 4 deaths recorded there, and with considerable violence going on during the concert. Another example, in 2004, during the Damage Plan band. Look at the name of them, Damage Plan. This was in Altroza Villa in Columbus, Ohio, where a member of the audience climbed on stage and killed the lead guitarist and 3 others, and wounded at least 7 others before being shot dead by a police officer. The British rock band, The Who, they were famous for onstage violence. And this is in 1979 at the Riverfront Coliseum in Cincinnati, Ohio, where suddenly a stampede took place and resulting in the deaths of 11 people and hospitalizing 26 others. This question of stampedes, we're going to see what that is exactly. Another example, in 2010, the Love Parade Electronic Dance Music Festival in Duisburg, Germany, where a stampede through the entrance tunnel, 21 people, they were trampled to death, and 500 others seriously injured and hospitalized. At the Roskilde Festival in Roskilde, Denmark, in the year 2000, at a performance by the Pearl Jam Band, suddenly thousands of people pushed toward the stage in a human stampede, where many people were trampled to death and several others hospitalized. In 2003, at the West Warwick, Rhode Island concert, it was an indoor concert. There was a huge sparkler effect on stage, and a fire broke out, and 100 fatalities, and 130 seriously injured and hospitalized. This happens more frequently than we would like to believe. This is just one example of that type of thing. And at many of these concerts, there's a practice that goes on that they call the Wall of Death. The Exodus band does this a lot, but other bands do this as well, where they divide the audience in 2 and influence them to run toward each other and crash into each other. There's a similar type of thing that goes on called the circle pit, where members of the band induce people to run in a circle, and then a stampede begins to happen suddenly, and people are trampled to death. And this is what goes on during these concerts. And I was trying to figure out, why does that happen? Why is there such a violent spirit that goes on during these type of heavy metal, heavy rock concerts? And I found the answer in a biblical scripture. I was looking at the epistle of St. Matthew, chapter 8, verses 28 to 32. This is a very interesting thing. Take a look at this. It reads, "When Christ arrived at the other side of the region of Gadarenes, 2 demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. 'What do you want with us, Son of God?' they shouted." Even the demons recognize who he was, who he is. "Have you come here to torture us before the appointed time?" Some distance from them, a large herd of pigs was feeding. The demons begged Jesus, "If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs." And Christ just said, "Go." So they came out and went into the pigs, and the whole herd stampeded down the steep bank into a lake and died in the water. Now, what is interesting here, theologians call this type of possession a legion of demons, when there are so many, where they entered into a large herd of pigs, because there were many demons in these 2 men. It's a severe type of demon possession. Now, what happens is, when these demons went into this herd of pig, a violent stampede took place. And so what happens at these so-called concerts when people are induced by this type of heavy beating, electrical charged type of music? It's a ripe situation for demonic possession. Suddenly demons come into the situation and violent stampedes take place and people get trampled. So, what I'm trying to show is that there's a very negative spiritual influence that happens during many of these types of concerts. Now, what happens is, by resonance, this also affects people who are not at the concert. You know, for example, at the band The Who, in this concert that was cited, people trampled others just to get into the concert. So they were already in this violent type of spirit. And by resonance, this affects people who are more influenced by this type of behavior, people who are not so firm in themselves. By resonance, they enter into this vibration, even though they're not at the concert. And this is a very real scientific phenomenon, the phenomenon of resonance. And so these concerts, they are not only harmful to those who attend them, but they are harmful to the rest of the nation as well, by resonance. This is a scientific fact. So the first step in bringing a solution to these problems is consciousness. First of all, we need consciousness of what's going on so that we can more intelligently choose what type of concerts we prefer to go to. Okay, I'm Gilbert Gambucci, and this is Living Eternity Now. All the best to you.